Hey storyteller! Many writers find their story's antagonist to be the most fun character to write, and as Clive Barker once said, a story is only as good as its villain. But how can we craft a compelling villain without seeming to condone the evil he or she represents? This worry can cause writers to water down the actions of the antagonist. I've seen this countless times with clients, especially those who are writing for the Christian market or other faith-based markets, or writing for children. When the author is a person of faith, he or she often is concerned about seeming to make the villainy seem okay or glorified in some way, or just seem more exciting than what the hero is doing. I've even seen this in traditionally published books written for the Christian market, and as a Christian myself, I completely understand the concerns behind this. But if we shy away from showing the bad guys and girls in our story being, well, bad, we risk fatally weakening the story. Welcome to this week's writer coaching session, where I'll share 6 tips for writing a powerful story without condoning the antagonist's villainy. Hi, I'm Bridget from B Squared Writer Coaching. I'm an author, editor, and your story coach, here to help you make your story powerful, polished, and publishable, so you can move readers and help them experience the adventure with maximum emotional impact. First, I have a gift for you just for visiting my channel. My real method to creating unforgettable characters. A villain's evil deeds aren't enough to make him or her compelling and truly three-dimensional. Nothing kills the power of a story faster than a stereotypical antagonist who's as flat as a cardboard cutout. This PDF will help you bring your villain and all the other characters to life in 4 easy steps without needing to write extensive character biographies. Just click the link in the description or visit b2writercoaching.com/real. That's the letter B, the number 2, writercoaching.com/real, REAL, to download your copy today. And be sure to stick around to the end so you won't miss today's power-up, a super practical action step you can take right now in the story you're working on. So, how can we depict realistic evil without condoning it? First, we need to consider our audience. The audience, or the reader, should determine the level of evil and the amount of evil we show in our stories. Also, this will determine how we describe that evil. The type and depth of the evil acts shown, the degree of detail used to describe them, for instance, how graphic you get with the descriptions, and even the consequences the villain faces or evades should be determined by the tolerance level of your intended reader. For example, fans of Christian historical fiction or sweet romance probably don't want to read gritty, gory descriptions of violence, but fans of thriller or horror would be bored without them. When planning what your antagonist will do or writing a scene that will contain a harmful or evil act, consider your reader's age level and sometimes even gender, as well as the preferences associated with the genre you're writing in. Research is always helpful. Read lots of books in your genre. You can search the internet or writing craft books for guidelines on writing for a particular age group or genre, and ask readers in that genre what their preferences are. My second tip is to show evil's true desire, the self. No matter the villain, this desire will always be the same. Evil is all about the self. It elevates the self above all others. For those who embrace it, nothing else matters. Not other people, other things, not even God. Whatever else your villain may want, the self is evil's true ultimate goal. Even if the character sets out to rule galaxies, the villain's world doesn't really expand. It spirals inward, closer and closer and closer until it consists only of the self. The tip here is to show the villain's inward spiral toward the self. This will make your antagonist emotionally realistic while demonstrating evil's true nature. Nobody likes a selfish brat after all, right? My third tip is to show your villain suffering from evil's greatest weakness. What is the one weakness all villains share? Evil is incapable of understanding goodness. While villains like to say their foes are predictable, they rarely see a selfless or self-sacrificing act coming. What they think is a victory over the protagonist may actually bring about their own defeat. Show your protagonist doing something noble or making a selfless choice that confuses or surprises the villain. This may turn events in the protagonist's favor for a time, or even lead to the villain's downfall. At the same time, it will demonstrate that evil is not superior, smarter, or stronger than goodness. Are you finding this helpful so far? If so, be sure to hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you won't miss future writer coaching sessions. My fourth tip is to show the consequences of evil. This is probably the most important tip I will share with you today. Why is it so important to show the consequences of evil acts in our stories? Well, we live in a moral universe, and so should our characters. Governments, laws, and religions are founded on a code of acceptable behavior and consequences. Even Robin Hood and his gang of thieves lived by a moral code: steal from the rich and give to the poor. If we fail to show the consequences of the evil acts in our stories, we risk seeming to condone them. Wars leave families devastated, cause food shortages, and create lasting injuries. Crimes create financial, physical, and emotional problems for the victim and carry heavy penalties for the criminal. So show the consequences of the evil acts of villains and of the misguided acts of your protagonist and allies. Those can include mistakes and just bad choices. Bonus tip here for your protagonist: no one's perfect, so if your good guys occasionally mess up, then your story can be much richer. But just like I say, be sure to show the consequences of those things. Consequences don't only include punishments for those who cause the trouble. They can also include the negative results of an act on oneself or others. At the very least, hint at a later penalty for the person who commits an evil act. And tip number 5, show the grandeur of evil without the glory. While we don't want to condone evil, we should be fair to it. If it's powerful, show the grandeur and extent of that power, but also show its downfall and true nature. Consider the devil in the Garden of Eden. This grand, beautiful archangel Lucifer was really nothing more than a snake who spies on people. So we need to show evil's attraction without glorifying it, without making it seem admirable or desirable. Again, consequence is key here, so be sure to show the negative results of even the most attractive evil. And a bonus tip: don't let the fun of writing the villain make villainy seem fun to commit. And let's face it, it is fun to write the antagonist, because we get to delve deeper into the mindset of a character whose worldview and actions are so far different from our own. And the sixth tip really focuses on a type of protagonist instead of the antagonist, the antihero. We need to handle antiheroes with care. What if your good guy or good girl is at least morally gray or perhaps even villainous? Many readers are attracted to the antihero character type, and they can be quite effective if done well. Keep in mind, however, an antihero is not a flawed hero. An antihero is an actual villain in the role of protagonist. Leave no question that the antihero is wicked and not to be admired. Avoid implying that good and evil are merely a matter of perspective. Use consequences and the reactions of other characters to make it clear that the evil acts are bad, no matter who commits them or why. I mentioned Robin Hood earlier, and he is sort of an antihero, but a better example might be Simon Templar from the movie The Saint, played by Val Kilmer. The protagonist, Simon, is a professional thief. Though people pay him large sums of money to steal priceless objects for them, the story focuses on his journey toward leading an honest life. It never implies that the stealing he's been doing is good. He does have a positive character arc because it is a redemption story, but his evil acts are never glorified. In fact, he doesn't want to do them anymore. Other examples include Artemis Fowl, Dexter from the HBO television series, Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean, Walter White from Breaking Bad, and many others. Let me know in the comments if you have questions about antiheroes as compared to villains, or if you'd like me to do a video on that at some point in the future. And if you haven't done so already, be sure to download the Real Method for creating unforgettable characters. Remember, just click the link in the description or visit b2writercoaching.com/real to grab your copy today. For this week's Power Up, we want to focus on the villain's inward spiral toward the self. Use dialogue or action throughout the story to show evidence of this inward spiral and demonstrate that your villain's true focus is the self. And be sure to show the consequences of any evil act committed in your story, whether by the villain or someone else, showing the penalty for this action or the harm it causes to someone else. Much of what makes a villain compelling is the suspense and the tension that builds based on the threat he or she poses in the story. In order to achieve this, we need good story pacing. So check back next week when we'll talk about how to achieve perfect pacing for your story. And be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss it. Does your villain start out as a hero or your hero start out as a villain? Does this change throughout the story? Then your character may have a redemption or positive character arc or a negative character arc in which he spirals downward and ends up in a very destructive place, either for himself or for others. If that's the case, you need a well-crafted character arc. Watch this video to find out how to create one and which type your story may need. And every villain needs a powerful hero to face, so check out this video on how to write a compelling protagonist. Until next time, let's power up your storytelling.